Among all the politics in the world, there are, of course, alliances. There have been alliances of nations throughout the history of the world. There were alliances such as the Triple Entente in the First World War, leading to the League of Nations, which was shortly after, which only lasted a few decades prior to World War II breaking out. There were also alliances such as the Axis powers in World War II, consisting of Germany, Italy, Japan, and many more, as well as later on satellite states to the Soviet Union along Eastern Europe. Many people know that at the end of the Second World War, the United Nations were formed, where to this day, the highest world leaders unite all together to discuss issues within the country or surrounding countries or anything that is a worldly matter, an international affair, so to say. With many countries, there's even smaller alliances made. Um, Examples include NATO, the North Atlantic Trade Organization, um, which America is within. And there's even alliances that aren't necessarily about many issues, mainly a specific issue. One example being Paris Climate Agreement, which America less than a year ago just re-entered. One international alliance group that has been around for some time now is none other than the European Union. The European Union is an alliance of European countries, hence the name, that act much like the United Nations, but on a smaller level. The European Union was formed to deal with issues revolving within and around its continent, which over time has led to controversy, including the leaving of Britain from the European Union. To begin, one must look at how the European Union was formed. Although a need for the European Union to be formed could be traced back in the 50s, right after World War II, when work unions united together, European Union was officially created in 1993. The purpose of its creation was to ensure peace and help unify Europeans together over time. Peter Pitchler goes into more detail explaining the origins of the European Union. The examination of the European Union starts as a distinct cultural entity, which is theorized as having produced a novel form of cultural sense-making and a paradoxical coherence. Crucially, the balance of the threat inherent to the interactions between nation-states and supranationalism implies the ever-possible reversibility of the European Union history. Pitchler's understanding of the European Union helps bring forth a better understanding towards it. With the European made, the question then comes forth as to how it was developed. In truth, the European Union was formed prior to its official forming as to be a challenging foe to face Europe's powerful neighbor to the east, Soviet Union. And between ECSC and EEC, they considered but then rejected a supranational European Defense Community, EDC. Europeans valued autonomy more in military affairs than in economics. Between ECSC and EEC, the United States committed forces to Europe and NATO, making intra-European military integration unnecessary. Perfidious Albion, meanwhile, the British opted from their sheltered island to pass the buck and let the Continentals build an economic bulk wall towards the USSR. The Europeans' effort to become a bigger alliance than the Soviet Union was used, primarily due to the fear that the spread of communism would take over Western Europe, as it had already split Germany into half. European Union as we know it would be more successful over time, as the Soviet Union would fall and become the Russian Federation, and the European would Union will remain a joint union as it is today. While many countries in Europe have joined the EU over time, there has been only one country to leave the EU that made a big significance. That being none other than Britain. Now, Britain has a weird history with the European Union as it was one of the first initial members of it. Tom Wagemakers goes into detail on how the infamous Brexit took place. He says, in this age of populism and fake news, articles that dissect the discourses employed by the media, such as this one, are a welcome addition to the debate, allowing readers to have a better understanding of political events. Spread of fake news and a hysterical reaction to a future problem is what entirely sparked the leaving of Britain in the European Union. Had it not been for the spread of false news, Britain would have very well stayed within the European Union. With the European Union being in power today, it is one of the most influential alliances in the world today. Without the European Union, Europe, and possibly even the world, could have gone into complete madness had it not been for creating such laws.